Okay, guys, welcome back to the week 2 summary class. Last week we have started with Java a little bit. There are a couple of new candidates who has joined this batch. So I want to welcome Afi and Kester. Hi, Afi. Hi, Kester. Thank you for joining the batch. I will let you guys introduce yourself at the end of the class, maybe. But for now, let's get started with the training. So just a minute, let me open up the site, Wisdom QA, and let's log in. I have last week's, the entire solution I have already posted in the Slack channel, and not Slack, my bad, in the Google Drive, right? Not sure if you have seen that, but let us look at week 1. I think there were few things that I didn't cover. I remember I covered up with, did I cover up the operators? I know I did, but I'm not sure if I have covered up the loops. I didn't cover the loops, right, guys? Last week? Yes, no? Yes, no? Bongi, did I cover the loop last week? No, right?
No, we didn't get into the loops.
Okay. Okay. And arrays also I didn't cover, right?
No.
Okay. So perfect. So let's get started with the arrays and then we'll go to the loops and all, right? So let's go to this part over here. Not this, my bad. The week class 1. Not here. Class 2. Okay. Operators. Okay. Perfect. So this is where we get started with the arrays, right? I have spoken to you about variables, and I told you what are variables. In any programming language, we need to store certain type of information, and to store certain type of information and update that information, we use variables. There are different types of variables. I have spoken about those last week. There are different data types according to your requirement, according to your size requirement. You will choose the respective data type and you will create a variable and you can store the information into it. You can update the information as well. That is a variable, okay? We're going to talk about arrays today, right? So let's talk about arrays. So what is an array? Array is a collection of same type of elements. For simplicity, we can consider it is a bucket where we can store similar type of elements. Meaning, if I want to store integers in an integer array, I can store integers only. If it's a string array, I can store string only. I cannot store integer in a string array. Simple, okay? So let me show you something. Let me go to the Eclipse. Eclipse is the editor, code editor where we write the code. Guys who have just joined today, I will install these things after the class for you, but it is a code editor that you need. And then I'm going to just create a new project here, which is week 2 summary class. Okay. And as a part of that, don't create. And as a part of that, we will start the class today. with the discussion. I'm creating a package. Inside the package, we are going to write the program. What is package? Package is nothing but a simple folder. Like we create folder in our Windows system or Mac system. It is just a folder, nothing more than that. So I'm going to create a new class here because the class is the place where we can write a code. For now, that's what we need to know. Class means much more than that. We will discuss about it in detail later on. But for now, this is the place where we are going to write a code. So I'm just going to write a code on, say, test array. And I want to run this code from a main method. So this is my basic class created. As a part of this class, I'm going to write my program. Within this main method, I'm going to write a program. Simple. What is the program I'm going to write? I'm going to create an array, right? What is an array? As I said, array is a bucket to store multiple types of, similar type of elements in that bucket. However, you have to remember that you need to define the size of the array when you want to start creating the array. For example, if I'm saying string is a data type, which means it can store, which means it can hold a string value, like a name, like a country name, like a city name, those kind of things. So if I want to store string, so string array, then it goes string in square brackets. So when you say string square brackets, it means that you're creating an array, and you can give a name to this array. So let's say names, okay, equals to new string, and then within the square bracket at the very end, you're going to define the size of the string, which is 5. I'm saying 5, which means what? Which means that in the memory, in the Java virtual machine memory, let me draw this for you. As soon as this code will be executable, or we will be executing this code, as soon as that happens, in the memory, we are going to allocate 5 adjacent blocks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We are going to allocate 5 adjacent blocks. Okay, these blocks are going to hold string values and what? And the name of this entire array is names, right? The point is that this string array is having a size of 5, and to access these elements within the array, we use a particular term, and we use this term as index. We're going to use index to access these blocks, each and individual blocks. For example, I'm going to say the first one as 0, the second one as 1, 2, 3, and 4. When you're creating an array of size 5, then obviously you're going to have the indexing starting from 0 to 4, which is 5 minus 1. The last index will be 5 minus 1, or length minus 1, right? In this array, you're going to store the values. What values? The names. So we can store the names. So we have Ahmed, we have Kester, we have Afi, we have Bongi, and we have Ramon, right? So we have all of them here attached to this array. How do I set the value inside the array? So in this line, I am just initializing an array. I'm not doing anything more than that. Now I am going to start setting the value inside this. How will I do it? Very simple. So names And within square bracket, you can say which index you're targeting. So 0. And then I'm going to say the name, say Ahmed, right? Now, I want to show you something. I want to introduce you to the concept of debugging. Debugging is the most crucial concept in programming that you will have to master. You will not be very good at debugging from the day one, but eventually you have to get there where you can debug the code and understand that. So the debugging means nothing, but you are trying to understand how the machine, I mean the system, is literally understanding your code, how the execution is happening by the machine. And you ideally want to understand that so that you can debug your code. And if there is any problem in the code, you can fix it. Because if you have written a wrong code, okay, or if for some unforeseen reason, if a particular program is not running, then that debugging facility or the debugging feature can really make you understand what are you doing wrong with it. That is called debugging. How can you do a debugging? Very simple. We will use something called as breakpoints in our Eclipse editor. Okay, so for example, I want to really understand. Okay, here in this line number 12, I'm going to write something syso, nothing but sysout. So when I hit Control S, syso is a shortcut, and when I say Control space, then it gives you solutions, right? So I choose the first solution. That's my system.out.println. And then over here, if I put a breakpoint, you see line number 12, I'm adding a breakpoint. The idea is that when I run my program in the debugging mode, my execution will come at pause in line number 12, right here. Right here, my execution will come at pause. When it come at pause, it means what? It means that the program got started from line number, like from 1, right? The program got started from line number 1. It started scanning or executing until line number 12 when it is at pause, which means until line number 12, everything has been executed, which means in the memory of Java Virtual Machine, it has already created an array, and in the index number 0, it has already added a name, and the value is Ahmed. Simple. Let's go and get this done. I'm going to run this in the debug mode. How do I run it? Very simple. You use this bug, right? Or you can just say right-click on this, and you can say debug as Java application. That's better, okay? Right-click on the file, debug as Java application. When you do that, you will see it will open up the small section to save if you haven't saved the file. So save it, and then it will directly take you down to line number 12. I told you it will come at pause. So it is at pause right now. So now, if you hover your mouse into the value, into the names array, if you hover your mouse into the names array, you see something. Look, what am I saying? This is called debugging. You are literally understanding that at runtime, how the machine is seeing your code and what exactly it is doing with it, right? You can literally understand that. So you see, over here, it is clearly telling you that there is an array of 5 spaces. The first index is having the value of Ahmed, but however, the rest of them is null. Why null? Because for Java, if you are not initializing a string variable, if you're not setting a value to a string variable, then by default, Java will set null to it, right? which is why everything is null except the first one. Simple, right? If I want to, look, if I want to enter, the best part of debugging is that you can even do things at runtime, and you will see the changes are happening. What do I mean by that? In debugging, there is a another system, and we call it as another tool. We call it as watch, right? So how do you open up watch? It's very simple. You double click on this names, right click on it, and say watch. When you say watch, you will see this section comes up. It's called expressions. Under that, you have names, the variable, the array names is here. If you double click on it, it shows you the exact same information. Ahmed, null, 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 right? Now, in this small window, you can add a new expression. For example, I can say names of index 2 is equals to Bongi. And I hit enter. You see, at runtime, I'm doing this. As soon as I do it, now if I look at the names, look, Bongi is here. I am doing this on runtime. It is very, very important, guys. And I'm just showing you two of them right now, but there are many ways you can perform debugging. And you have to be a master in debugging. I know you will get there. It takes time, it takes experience to get there, but you have to eventually understand this. Without debugging, it will never happen that you write a piece of code and you run it and you exactly get the output the way you suspected. No, it will never happen. I mean, if it's a small program, it might, but if it's a large program, it will not. And you have to then modify things and understand, what kind of tweak you need to make, right? Those kinds of things are very much required. So anyway, that is debugging. So whatever the expressions I have here, I will clear this out right now with this cross marks. Say yes, that's gone. So that's the debugging part, and that's the array, right? So array can be declared in multiple ways, right? The one way I told you is this one, by adding size to it. That's one way of doing it. There's another way of doing it, which is string array names to equals, you don't have to define size, nothing. You can directly pass on the value to it. For example, I have to add a flower brace, and then I'm gonna just click on adding the names just like that. And you will see that all these names are coming up. Always use double quotes, not single quotes, like so. And you can see I'm just adding the names. Ahmed, Bongi, Kester, Afi, right? And then I do a sysout again, because you have to understand that, okay, let me show you something. Let me show you something that if I am trying to debug this variable, this array, by clicking on creating a breakpoint for it line number 13, and if I'm running this program or debugging this program, let's see what happens. I say debug as Java application. When I do it, okay, so line number 11, there is a breakpoint, so that's why it stopped. I will resume my execution. It is stopping in line number 13. If I want to debug this, right click on it and you say watch. If I do it, do you see something? Do you see it says error during evaluation? Why? It's very simple. The point is that the execution happened from line number 1 to line number 13, but it stopped at line number 13. I haven't gone through it. I haven't passed through it, right? Which is why in the memory of Java, this variable doesn't even exist. And if I try to evaluate it, obviously it doesn't exist. That's the reason why the error is simple, okay? Meaning, if I just go like one step down, if I do just one step down like this, then you see when I when I came from here, when I just passed this particular line, when I did that, this names variable is here now, and you can see all the values are displayed, which means that this line worked and I was able to enter all the values. Correct? That is all is about array. In array, there is another property that you would like to understand, and that property is called as dot length. This length property will tell you at runtime what is the value, what or how many number of elements are there in that array. So there's 4 elements in the array, and I just showed you how to get that. Okay, so okay, how do you retrieve the value from the array? Exactly same. You just say names2, and then you say, so what is the last index over here? Can someone tell me what's the last index? Afi, what is the last index of this array? Afi, you're mute.
3. Sorry.
Yeah, go on. Yes, no problem. Guys, tell me.
3.
Yeah, it's
If you
3.
start with 0.
Yeah, it's 3. Perfect. So I say, get me the value of the 3rd index, and I hit enter. When I do that, I get Afi here. Right? So when you set the value, you can set the value like this, or you can set the value like this. When you get the value, you get the value with the index only. Clear? That's that. Okay. One other thing I want to cover as well. For example, here I have 0, 1, 2, 3. There are 4 indexes. What happens if I want to access the 4th index? So 5th index. So 0, 1, 2, 3, right? There are 4 indexes. What if I want to access the 5th index? So you see here I go, instead of 3, I say 4, right? If I hit enter, I immediately get an exception, error during evaluation. And if I want to really understand this exception, I have to expand this section. And it clearly says something, which is attempt to access illegal array index 4, obviously, right? So in ideal situation, you will get an exception called as array index out of bound exception. Let me actually show you. Let me run this and show it to you. So this out. And I go names 2, and I'm going to say 4. All right. And let's run this. When I do this, I will immediately get an exception, array index out of bound exception. The exception that the Java threw at me is array index out of bound exception. Clearly in simple English, it says, what's the problem, right? So whenever you say red, whenever you see red, don't get scared. Try to read it and try to make sense out of it. I mean, the exception that you see here is just like 2-liner, but you ideally would get exceptions like a large one at times. When it happens, try to go line by line and try to understand. Generally, what is the cause of the exception is very much found at the very top of the exception itself. So if you just read a couple of lines, you will get to know what's the problem, right? You don't have to go through the whole stack trace. Okay. So we actually call this in programming, we call this exception that is thrown at us, this whole log that you see here, right? This log, we call it as stack trace. Okay. So you don't have to really go through the whole stack trace. First couple of lines should be good enough for you to understand what went wrong. Okay, that's the end of the array. Good. Let's then move on to something else, and that is array rules. I covered that. Okay, that is loops. Okay, so what is loop? Why do I need loop? I need loop because I want to perform an operation multiple times. For example, I want to I want to print 1 to 100 in in the console, right? I can do this, right? I can do this in a stupid way, right? If I want to print out 1 to 100, I'll say sys out, and I will say 1. I can do 2, like so, right? I can keep on doing this till 100. Yes, I can do that. But this is stupid. I don't want to write this println 100 times to get 100 printed in my console. I can use loops to get done with that. How? So let me create another class over here. So new Java class, and let's say test loops. And I'll say main method. Good. And over here, I want to print out 1 to 100. Okay. So there are different types of loops we have, guys. We have for loop. We have while loop. We have do while loop. And we have for each loop. For each loop. There are 4 different types of loops that we see in Java. Correct? So now we actually have to understand that in which condition, what loop makes sense to be useful, right? For example, I know that my requirement is to print 100, 1 to 100 in the console. So I know that there is a starting point of 1, and I have to go all the way to 100. I know that there is a range given to me. So if I have a range in my mind, then I would go for a for loop. A for loop is defined like this. A for, there's a particular syntax of the for loop. So within the brackets, you have to first and foremost initialize the loop. So I can say int I is a counter, just a counter. You can give any name to it. You can even say count, doesn't matter. Equals to 1. Int count equals to 1. I'm saying that's my starting point. And I would like to go till count less than equals to 100. I want to get till there. You say less than equals to, meaning as long as the value of I is less than 100 or less than equals to 100, this loop will keep on iterating. And how do you want to iterate? How do you want to go from 1 to 100? You want to go to 1 to 100 by incrementing the loop or incrementing the value by 1. So you go and say count plus plus. Okay. So this thing is plus plus. There's a significance to it, and I will talk about that. It's called postfix operator, prefix and postfix operator. Okay, we'll talk about that in a minute. But this is basically a for loop creator. Okay, what do? I just say sys out, and I just say count. And if I do that, and if I run my program, obviously, it will print from 1 to 100 in a microsecond, right? I have a range in place. Make sense? Okay. Let's try to see about while loop. While loop. So while loop works as long as a particular condition is met. While loop works as long as a particular condition is met. Okay. For example, I want to find out all the even numbers between 1 to 150. That's a range problem. I'm thinking of another way to say this. I mean, I can write anything in while loop. Okay, let's say this. Let's say this. So I want to find even numbers between 1 to 50. 1 to 50. Correct? Even numbers. Right? So this problem that I'm talking about can be very well done with for loop, but I'm showing you a while loop answer, right? What did I say? While means as long as a particular condition is satisfied, the loop will keep on iterating. So let's create the condition. The condition is very simple. So Boolean is the variable I'm going to use. I mean, Boolean is the data type I'm going to use. And I'm going to say it as condition, COND, equals to true. I'm setting the value of the condition variable equals true. And I'm saying while condition equals to true, keep on iterating. That's the syntax of while loop, this much. So as long as the condition is true, keep on iterating. Now, by looking at this code, what do you think will happen? Let me just show you something. I'll put SYSO here. And I will say, I'll just give a name here. The name of my company. So Wisdom QA. If I go ahead and run this program, what do you think will happen? Anybody can guess? Anybody can guess? Maybe Ramon? Do you want to guess what will happen?
Yeah, that it will print Wisdom QA on and on without stop.
Exactly. Very good, Ramon. It'll get into an infinite loop. Let me play this to you. Let me run this to you, right? So run as Java application. Do you see that? It is stuck in an infinite loop forever. Why? Because, simple, let me stop this. Because I have set the condition equals to true, and I'm saying, let's print it. Okay, let's print it. But till how long? At some given point, you always have to make sure to understand that you need to break out of the loop somehow. Somehow or the other, you need to break out of this loop. If you're not breaking out of this loop, you are getting into an infinite loop, and that's wrong. That's a wrong code. Okay, always whenever you are creating a loop, you should think ahead to figure out exit strategy for the loop. For example, here I'm trying to define, or here I'm trying to get 50, 1 to 50, and I want to get even numbers. Okay, so good stuff, no problem at all. I can say int count equals 1. I'm giving the value of count equals 1. And the idea is I want to just simply figure out which all values are equals to 50. Is even number, right? So I go and I add a if condition. If count percentile is a modulus operator. I spoke to you about this last week. Modulus means it will just give you the reminder. So count divided by 2 or modulus by 2. If this is equals to 0, then I can say it's an even number, and I will simply print out this SYSO, and I want to print out the count. If it's an even number, good stuff. If not, then this if block will not be even executed. It will check this and it will not even execute it, right? It will simply go ahead and it will open, it will reiterate this condition one more time. Okay, now this count, I have to also increment. So let me increment the count over here, count plus plus, so that I can reach till 50. So I have taken care of two things. Number one is my even number check. Even number check. I have done that. I have increment the value of count. These two things I have done. Now, the other thing I have to do is I have to say that it's 50. How can I do that? I can very well say it has 50 by saying another if condition. If count equals to, or actually, you know what? I'll do this at the very end, not now. Wait a minute. So 14 and 50. Yeah, no, I think I should do it here because I'll get to the 50. Let me think. Because I want to include 50 in my execution. So once the 50 is done, count plus, I should do it here. I should do it here. Yeah. So I'll do it here and say if count equals to 50. Okay. If count is equals to 50, then I simply want to make this condition equals to false. Do you see that? As soon as the count is equals to 50, I want to make this condition equals to false. And if that happens, even if it will increment by 1 in line number 27, this condition will fail and the code will stop, the execution will stop. Let's run this and see if that works. Run as Java application. And we do have all the values. See that? 2, 4, blah, 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 till 50. How about that? Okay. There are two ways to break out of the loop. Okay. One, I mean, from any loop there are two ways to break out of any loop. Okay. Not while loop, but any loop. The statement is called break. Okay. So here in the while loop, I showed you the answer by setting the value of condition equals to false. I could have also done like this, break. And if I say break, as soon as this break hits, line number 27 will also not execute. It will straight away come out of this. Let's run. Answer will be same, no difference. Answer will be same. But what happened was line number 26, it found that it's 50. So it just broke out of the entire loop immediately. However, in this situation, the condition was false. The value of count was increased by 1. And then the while loop was checked and it found it is false, so it stopped. Right? Whatever I said so far, can you please give me a thumbs up and say if you have understood or you haven't understood in last 45 minutes? Any questions? Okay. What about Priyash? Afi? Ahmed?
Like I said, even I don't want to interrupt you with even with the assignment you give to us. I'm still a little bit struggling with it. It's very clear when you are explaining it, but when I am alone to do it, a little bit confusing. So, but
why do you think
it's going well with me? It's even I understand the way you are doing it. But when I wanted to do those assignments, I find I get stuck in some area there. So
okay.
That is
why do you think it is you're feeling confusing? Because when I'm teaching you in the class and I'm making sure that you understand each and every concept. So I would like to understand, like, when you're trying to do it, why do you think it is it is confusing? I mean, are you Are you looking at my video side by side when you are trying to complete the, okay. Listen, what you do is this, right? As soon as I release my videos
Okay.
every week, okay, you watch the video and side by side, you do whatever I do in the video.
Okay.
I think what is happening with you is that you are, when you're opening up this Eclipse editor, it
Mhm.
kind of, you're kind of getting in a blank mode. You don't know what to write. You don't know what to write, and that's where the confusion and the lack of confidence is coming up, right?
Okay.
So I think what you should do is, you, instead of really thinking from a blank page, you open my video side by side. Whatever
Okay.
I'm doing in my screen, in my Eclipse, I want you to write that. When you start writing the code, it will kind of sit in your muscle memory that, okay, this is what I need to write. I need to write a main method. I need to write a variable. I need to create a loop if I want to loop around. So
Okay.
these things will come to you when you see something and do it side by side. I know that it is the first time you are doing the programming, and I think most of them here in the batch is also in the same situation. But I think this is the right way of learning it. Otherwise,
Okay.
when you open the page for the first time and you don't know just where to start from or what to write, and that is
Okay.
understandable. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
No problem. Thank you. Afi, what about you? Whatever I just showed you, is it making sense? I know it's early morning for you, but then is it understandable?
Yes, it is.
Very good. Okay. Bongi.
Yeah, it is.
Okay, good. Perfect. Priyash, how's it going?
It's good, so I can
Okay.
understand what you meant by explaining here.
Okay. Steve, you're good?
Yes, good morning. I am good.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Perfect. Good stuff. So that's the while loop, right? Good stuff. Let's move on to the next thing. The next thing is do while loop. Do while loop. The name itself says do something and then then check the condition, right? So here the while loop is check the condition first and then get inside this block, right? So you see in programming, everything is like a block driven or a scope driven. You see, there's a block over here, and within this block, whatever is within the block is being executed, right? Similarly, if you go up for the for loop, there is a block, right? Here is a block. This is the scope, and whatever is within the scope is getting executed, right? Similarly, in do while loop, we have a block, meaning something like this. It will look like this: do while. Little strange to look at, but let me show you what I mean. So condition, this Boolean condition, I'm setting it back to true again over here. Okay. And here I'm again checking condition equals true, like so. Correct? Now, this means what? Think about it. If this condition is not true, if line number 21 finds that the condition is not true, meaning it's false, then this block of code will never ever execute. That is while loop. It will never ever execute if this condition is true, false. This block will never execute. However, in do while loop, if you have a requirement that at least once your code within this block has to be executed, even if the condition is false, then you will use a do while loop. There are different reasons why you can use different loops. I showed you two of them right now, for loop and while loop. Do while loop is this one where you would like to loop around at least once, even if the condition is false. So for example, you see, I'm making this condition as false over here, meaning this while loop will never execute, never iterate, right? And I'll do nothing but simply copying the whole thing over here and pasting it here. Correct? Now, if I go ahead and run this program, you will see that even if the condition was false, it executed this code at least once. Let's run it. Okay. Now the point is, it didn't. Okay. It is a very clever question, which you have to really understand. You see right now, it printed till 100 from the for loop. Okay. It printed all the even numbers from 2 to 50. Okay. However, nothing was printed over here. Nothing was printed over here. Okay. Can you tell me why that is the case? I was expecting that this section will at least print, the value 2, because 2 is the first element, right? First value. But it didn't print anything. You see, the last was 50. It didn't print anything after that. Why do you think that has happened? It is a little bit of tricky situation for you to understand. Any idea why? Yeah, go ahead, Kester. You want to try? Go on.
No, yes, I'm looking. Can you reduce the size so I can see the previous code?
Yeah, absolutely. This is the previous code and this is the new code. I was expecting that at least one will run, one iteration will happen, but it didn't happen.
Can you comment out the previous one, the code for the previous one?
Okay. When you say comment out, why do you think the previous one is responsible for this one?
Because a do while loop is a post increment. So regardless, the do must run before it gets to the while. So I don't know, I have a feeling that the previous one is affecting the current one. I'm not sure.
Okay. So Kester, in programming, it is not like I have a feeling. Okay. It doesn't work out like I have a feeling. So it is very, very logical. What has happened here is that when the counter is the guy who is getting incremented. When this while loop was over in line number 28, the counter value was increased to like 50.
Oh yeah, that's true.
So it is 50 over here. Now, when it started in this section, okay, so you see, it said, okay, not 50, not 50, 51, because in line number 27, it was 51, okay? So when it was 51, this section over here didn't make sense at all, correct?
Yes.
So it didn't print it, right? And this line number 36 didn't print either because the count is more than 50. So line number the 36 didn't work. Count was made to 52, but then this condition was false, so it didn't work out. Let me show it to you. Let me put a breakpoint line number 27, which is why I said everything is all about debugging the problem. I'm putting a breakpoint line number 27. I'm putting a breakpoint line number 33 because I want to evaluate that. 36 and 37 and 38. All these places I am debugging. Okay, let's run this program in a debug mode. So debug as Java application. So as you all know, that 1 to 50 was okay. Actually, I should take it out from here and then resume. Okay, okay. So we got all 50 here. Okay. Now look at this situation. At the very beginning of my do while loop, the value of count is 51. Make sense? 51 is never divisible by 2, which is why this printout never happened. See, I'm going to the next line. It will not even get inside that if block. Okay. This if condition will not even work. Why? Because count is not equals to 50. It is 51. So good stuff. It didn't work either. Count plus plus, obviously it will increment it to 52. It did, right? And then line number 38, the condition is false. So it will not iterate again, which means nothing got printed. Now you see, just a short change. Over here, instead of saying condition equals to false, let me just say break. Instead of saying condition equals to false, I'm saying break. Now what will happen with this? Let's debug again. It printed till 50. It broke out of the loop. Now the value of count is not 51, but it is 50. Look, it is 50. Okay. So if it is 50, then 50 is divisible by 2. So it goes and prints this. Look at the difference. Look at the difference. And you go print it, 50. Good stuff. Obviously, here it will say condition equals to false. Yeah, it is. Count plus plus is 51. Condition is anyway false, so that cuts out. So in programming, nothing is like illogical. Everything that nothing is coming out of like thin air. Everything has a proper reason. If you debug, I'm telling you day 2. This is our day 2. I'm telling you, if you're scared of debugging, some people are scared of debugging, right? People think that they will write a program, they will run it and it should work. Okay, and if it is not working, they will not bother to debug. They will try to change the code and rerun again and again and again. If you don't get into the habit of debugging, then you will not be able to succeed. I'm telling you, day 2, simple as that. Right? So that's the do while loop. All right. And the last one is a very simple loop, and which is a for each loop. Okay. What is a for each loop? A very, very simple loop. So let me talk about that. For each loop works with conditions, not conditions, sorry, collections. So for example, in the arrays, you see I have this array, right? In this array, I have these values, correct? So I can access these values in multiple different ways. For example, I can use a normal for loop, like a for int I equals 0. And I can say I less than names2, that's the variable, that's the array, dot length. So I want to basically get to the end of it. And then I say I plus plus, and then I say sys out. And then I say names2 of I. Look at this code. Is it too confusing? I hope not, because I am again giving a range from starting from 0 till the length. The length is 4. I want to go till 3, right? That's why I'm saying I less than, not less than, equals to. Okay, I'm saying less than because I want to get till 3, not the 4. Because if I go to 4, index 4, that's the out of bound exception, right? So I'm incrementing by I plus plus, and then the value of I, I'm setting it over here. Why? Because I can access the value with the index. So always this index are integers, and then I'm passing that I value over here. So I is the variable. So this will keep on incrementing, and I will be able to print all the values. So if I run this program now, you will see that I should be able to print out. Okay, why is that? Okay, because of this line. Okay, one more thing. That's very good that you'll see it here. Look at this situation. Line number 15. Okay, how do you know the exception came at which line? The exception should tell you very clearly. You see, there's a class name test array .java, line number 15. If you click on this link, it will take you to that line straight away, right? So it's saying very clearly, line number 15, the array index out of bound exception came up. So as soon as the exception comes here in line number 15, my execution of this program immediately stops, which means line number 17 to 19 will never ever execute. If exception comes, it comes and it stops the other part of the program for execution, right? So then we can comment this out for now. Let's run this again. And you see, I printed all of them, right? Because it just went through the indexing one by one by one. That's the for loop of doing this. There's another way of doing this called for each loop. The syntax goes like this: for string name colon names2 and sysout name. Look, what is this? It's another way of getting the value from a collection. So array is a collection. So you just have to remember two things in this whole for loop. Number one is what type of value this collection is holding. Okay, this collection is holding a string type of value, correct? It's a string array. So as soon as you know that it holds string type of value, so you go and add that type over here. That's number one. Number two is the collection name, collection information, the actual collection, you pass it over here. The collection that is getting iterated, that whole collection you give it here, you know which type of value the collection is holding, so it is string, and then you add a variable in between. So the idea is the for loop is automatically iterating. You don't have to talk about indexing, the length, the iteration, incrementing, nothing at all. All you say is the collection and the type the collection is holding. And what will happen is this for loop will automatically iterate one by one. And each and every iteration, it will pick up one value, like this one value, and pass it on to the name variable automatically. One by one, it will keep on getting the information from each and every index. That's the for each loop, a very simple loop. You don't have to deal with many things, just two different information and you're good. What type of value it is holding and the actual collection itself. And then if you loop around, it just keeps on looping, right? That is a for each loop. These four loops I wanted to cover up before we go anywhere because these are the building blocks. Okay. So that is that. All right, that's that. Okay, I'm going to write a program now called as var args program. Okay, but to talk about this program, I will need to let you know about a method. What is a method? And then what is a parameter in a method? I'll talk about those after a quick break. Okay, so 1 hour, we take a break. So we'll take a 5 minutes break, come back, and we will try to cover it up from here on. Okay. Any questions up till now? The loop? Yes, no? Any questions? No? All right, good stuff. Let's come back in the 5 minutes. All right. Thank you so much. Okay. Good to start? Yes, no? Just give me a thumbs up, please. Okay. All right. Perfect. So then we will talk about varargs in a minute, but before that, let's go to the next part of it. And that would be our next thing. So over here, we'll talk about Java class. Let's see. Okay. We'll talk about Java class and we will try to introduce Selenium over here. Okay. We'll see how much we can cover. What is a Java class? We have to understand this. It is a very, very crucial thing. So far, we have used the, you have seen me creating classes in Eclipse, and I have told you that it is just a place where you can store information. But that is not the whole case, right? There is a whole new thing about Java class. The concept itself is quite interesting to understand. Okay, so let me try to cover this up. Class is a template. That's the first thing that you have to understand. Or I should say, class can be used as a template. Okay, what is a template? So template is nothing but a real world, a representation of a real world object. Okay, for example, if I am asking you to create students, if I am asking you to hold multiple students' information, or if I'm asking you to hold multiple cars' information, right? Or maybe we can say, yeah, let's do that. Let's say I want to create a garage. Let's say I want to create a garage. In this garage, I want to hold 3 cars. This is a use case that I'm trying to implement with Java programming language. 3 cars, Audi, a Mazda, a BMW, right? I want to hold the 3 cars in a garage. This is the use case that I'm asking you to build. Now, the first thing that you will have to understand is that in this whole scenario, what are your 2 main components? What are your 2 main components? Number 1 is garage. That's a component. Other component is very crucial, which is car. Car, not cars, car, right? I have identified my 2 key player of this use case. Okay, when I've understood this 2 key player of this use case, I have to identify few different things for these two different use case. Number one, where do I store my car in the garage? Like, not practically, but how can I list my cars as a part of the garage? From programming's perspective, we have to understand, or we have to kind of figure out, where can I store my car information? We have recently understood about a system called as array. From programming perspective, not from actual real world perspective, but from programming perspective, we have understood that there is a concept in Java called as array. And in the array, I can store similar types of elements. Similar types of elements. I cannot store an integer with a string. Okay, but I can store similar type of elements. Okay, so I have to create a garage and I have to create an array within the garage so that I can store information to it. I can store multiple information to it, or multiple cars to it, not information, multiple cars to it. That's the first thing. Number two thing that we have to understand is about the car. So how do you say the car is a car? We say car is a car because the car is having few attributes. Like garage is having an attribute, which is an array that will help us store those cars. Similarly, garage can have other attributes like a name. It can have a garage called as name. We can even do that. We can create multiple garages. Okay. So let's give two different attribute to the garage. One is a name of the garage, and maybe the location of the garage, and where all these cars will reside. There are three different attributes we have identified for garage. For car, we can identify a few more attributes, like the brand of the car, the model of the car, the engine of the car, and maybe the seats of the car, sitting capacity of the car. Correct? These are my, let me change the color. These are my attributes of garage, and these are my attributes of car. I have identified that beforehand. If I am trying to work with student entity, then student will have their own attributes like name, like class name or class that they are into, the location, I don't know, sex, right? These are different information that you can say that they're the attributes that will make a student, right? These informations will make a garage a garage. This information will make a car a car. Whatever I just said so far, is it making sense? This is the first part of understanding. Is this making sense? I'm not even writing the code. I'm just saying in a theoretical manner. Is it understandable? The first part. Ahmed, is it understandable?
Yes, it is.
Okay. So then when we have understood that, let's try to convert this to a program, only this much, to a program. What we will do is, from Java perspective, we will create two classes. Sorry. Let's go red. We will create two classes. Class number one is for garage. Class number two is for car. And we will assign relevant attributes to it. Attributes to it. Okay. Attributes. Attributes to it. These classes that I created is called as, in terms of Java, it is called as a template. I'm creating a template of garage. I'm creating a template of car. When I say template, it means that just by creating the classes, you haven't actually, create an actual garage or these three cars. You haven't done anything. You have just created a template. Like, if you have used Word, in the Word, what we do, we use templates like Microsoft Word. We can use a template, and then with the template, we can send that same template to multiple different people. A template on its own is nothing. It's just a structure. When you add the from address and the to address to a letter, a word letter, right? Then it makes sense that, okay, this is going to so many people who's having an address where we have to post this letter to, something like that, right? So template on its own is nothing. It's kind of an offline mode. Template on its own is offline mode. There is nothing really happening here until and unless we create objects or instances from the garage, for the garage and the car, to make it actually online. So we are going from offline to online, and we are doing that by creating something called as instance. Okay, how do we do that? We will explain. From here to here we are going, right? By creating something called as instance. And how do I do that? I will explain. Before I do anything, let's go ahead and create two different templates. That's the first thing that we do. Good stuff. So let's go ahead and I create a new package, completely new package. I'll name this package as test garage. Something like that. Okay. And in this, I'm going to create two different templates or two different classes. Class one is new class. And this class is going to have the name garage. Okay. And you will see that I am not selecting this main method. I don't need to have a main method here. It is going to be a template for me. So garage and then say finish, number one. Number two is going to be another class, and I name this class as car. Great. Perfectly fine. Let's go to garage and let's try to create some attributes. So attributes. Okay. What is attribute? Let's go and say string name is an attribute. String location is another attribute. Nothing but variables. Okay, but from this object-oriented programming concept, we are calling it as attributes. Another attribute we need is what? We need an attribute to hold my cars in the garage. So I can create a string of cars, sorry, not string, array of cars. So you can do like this, CAR of array. Do you see that? We can create an array of anything, an integer, a string, a car. So I can say cars, and here I can even say that how many cars I'm really trying to keep here. So new car, and then you can say that I want to store 3 cars at the max. So what did I do here? I just, this the thing that I just created here, I just declared, so I just declared my 2 attributes here. Okay, this is in programming language, in programming situation, we will call this as the declaration. I'm declaring these 2 attributes, and then I'm initializing an array which can hold 3 values. So this is initializing. Why I say initializing? Because there is an equal to, right? So I'm initializing an array and I'm declaring 2 attributes. This is declaring. Okay, I'm declaring these 2 attributes. I'm initializing an array. Good stuff. Now, I need some kind of a system, or let's not do that. I don't want to confuse you. Let me keep it till here for now. Okay. Let me go to car. Good. Let's create the attributes. What are the attributes? I told you string, name, sorry, brand. Again, declaring it, string, model, string, other thing is not string, sorry, int, or maybe double engine, right? Engine, and int seats, how many seats it can hold. And then as a part of this particular car template, I'm going to add another. Okay, so this is called attributes, as I told you. Attributes. Declaring attributes, right? And then we have property. Attributes and property, they are 2 different things. So property of this particular car template is property of this car template. One of the property of this car template is it can print out. So public void, it's a method I'm creating. Okay, property, nothing but methods. Like in Java, we call it as methods, right? So public void, and we say print info. This is a property of the car template that can print out all these values like this, and I will print out the values like this out, and we'll go like this, brand, you see. So what am I doing is this variable over here, I'm concatenating or appending with the string. So this is a string, I'm adding it with the string over here. So this two information will be appended, right? Similarly, I'm going to do it for others. This is my model. This is my engine. And this is my what? Seat. And this is my model. This is my engine. And there's my seats. Correct? So very simply, I created two different templates. One is garage, one is car. The garage is having these three attributes. Okay. I can give a property to this garage also. It's like property. The property of this garage is to insert a car or to load a car. Okay. So public void, okay, load car. Okay. You know what? I'll confuse you. Let me hold it for a while. If I do this, I will confuse you. Okay. Let's not do that. So let me just, I've created these two different entities or templates. Okay. Now on its own, these two guys have nothing. Just a template I created for both of them, nothing at all. However, I'm going to use another class here, and this class is going to be named as controller. I'm naming this class as a controller class, and this class is the main class. So you understand that. Let me change the color and show you. So these two guys, the car and the garage, these two guys are the key players of this story, right? Of this use case, key players of this use case, no problem at all. Okay. However, there has to be a controller which will ideally control the whole story building process. You understand? So we need templates and a controller to make that whole thing happen. That's the first thing that you should be really understanding out of this. Okay, so this controller will do what for me? The controller will basically make this whole program run. I told you about the offline and the online thing, right? So this controller is the place where you are actually making this whole offline thing go online. How? By creating something called as instances or objects. Meaning what? Meaning, let me make the garage go online. How? Simply garage, and I'm going to give a name to this garage. Say Thomas Garage. Thomas Garage, right? And then you can create an instance of this template by using a particular syntax called as equals to new garage. Just like that. When you did that, what is exactly happening in the background? So let's try to understand this. You have a Java virtual machine, okay, which is the JVM I spoke about last week. In this Java virtual machine, there are two different types of memories. Memory 1, memory 2. One of it is called as a stack memory. Stack memory. Another one is called as a heap memory. I'll talk about stack later on. But for the heap memory, what is exactly happening? What's exactly happening here is that as soon as the controller code gets executed, in the heap memory, you will create a space which is nothing but an instance of the car, and then the name of this instance of the car is Thomas. Now, this is the instance of the car that you just created over here for the template garage, right? As soon as you created this, okay, you have created, understand this very well, you have created a small world of Thomas Garage where you can set the name of the garage by saying Tommy's dot name equals Tommy's. Do you see that? Now, all you did was you created an instance of the garage, named that instance as Tommy's, and you're accessing all the attributes with something called as a dot operator, like a dot operator, and Tommy's dot name equals Tommy's garage. And you have given life to this instance by actually passing a value. An instance is not an instance if it doesn't have a value, right? Let's debug. Put a breakpoint line number 10, okay? And let's run this. You know what? Let me comment this out. Let me create two different garages. So I can create another garage, no problem at all. Garage. And let's say, I don't know, what's the name of the Stewart's? Okay. Stewart's garage, right? It goes to new garage. Right? And let's put a breakpoint here. Okay. Let's debug this small program. I commented out this section, which means I'm not setting the value to Tommy's garage yet. I'm just going to run this program or debug this program, debug as Java application. Okay. Let's see. Controller. What happened? Something happened wrong. Debug as Java application. Okay, good stuff. So the first line didn't execute. I don't know why. Okay, it says the local variable not used, but it should have. Okay, no, the breakpoint I removed. Anyways, so look, line number 12 didn't execute at all. Okay, it's just at pause in line number 12. Right now, if I hover my mouse on Tommy's, do you see what happens? It gives you some information. Don't look at this. I'll tell you what it is later on. But look at the information over here. It says name, the attribute name has null value. The location has null value, and the cars, the array cars, is also having null, null, null. Everything's default, right? Nothing is here. Okay. Let's go to Stewart's value, Stewart's garage. So this line was executed. Let's look at Stewart's garage. Exactly the same. Name, null. Location, null. Cars, null. Right now, both of them, you cannot really differentiate them at all because they are exactly in the same state. There is no difference at all. They exactly have the same default values all over the place, right? There's no difference between these two right now in terms of the values. A Tommy's garage can be a Tommy's garage if I stop my program and if I then enable this line. That's where Tommy's Garage gets the name Tommy's Garage. And then I say Tommy's dot location. I don't know. I'll just say it as City West. City West. And let's not add the cars yet. I cannot add the cars, Tommy's.car. I cannot really do that right now. Why? Because I don't have a car. I have not created an instance of car yet. So I can't really set the car, correct? Okay, let's create another instance. So Stuart is here, right? So Stuart's Garage is Stuart's Garage. So Stuart dot set name. Let's give the name to it. So Stuart. Okay. And I can go Stuart's dot, what's that name? Location. Location is say Sagard. Okay. And that's it. I created these two instances, right? Now let's look at the debugging part of it. I will take some time to really go over this array and go over this class concept because it is a little bit different to understand. So I will make it slow. Okay, there is please bear with me. So I'm going to debug as Java application, and if I do that, and if I just resume it, and you see now there are two different guys got created. Tommy is Tommy. Tommy's Garage is actually Tommy's Garage. How do I know that? Because it has a name and a location. It makes sense. Stuart is Stuart because it has a name and a location. Both of them has no cars yet in it, and we are good with that. Okay. So basically what happened is, if I show you the heap memory situation, right now you created two different. So when this program runs, ideally, you just created two different objects of garage. And you named it as Stuart's and Tommy's. So you understand that they are entirely different than each other. They have their own small world, and between these two guys, understand, between these two guys, there is just no connection at all. Crystal clear, set this into your mind. They have their own small world. Nobody knows what is happening on the other side. Simple as that. Okay. Let's complete the story. We have created the garage, but then we don't have the cars for us to fill this in. Okay. So let's create the cars now. Remove. And I'm going to create some cars now. Let's go and say car. Let's create a car, which is Mazda equals new car. And with that, Mazda dot brand equals Mazda. Mazda dot model equals model. Mazda 6. Mazda dot engine 2.2 and Mazda dot seats is a 5-seater, right? I can exactly create 3 different cars, no problem at all. And I name this as Audi and BMW, Audi, 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 Audi A6 or A5, whatever, 2.0, 5 liter, and BMW is BMW. Something A, okay, and model is 2.0, 5-seater, something like that. Okay, I created 3 different cars now. Good stuff. Now I want to add these cars to different garages. Okay. Somebody just, okay, Priyash. Let me get him in. Okay, so I want to add these cars to 2 different garages. How can I do that? I can very easily use my Tommy's attribute or instance like this, dot cars of index 0 is equals to Mazda. Do you see that? Do you see that? Do you understand what did I do? I took the garage car, Tommy's. Inside that, there was an attribute called as cars, which is an array. In the array index of 0, I am passing on the whole object of Mazda. This whole object of Mazda. Where is my drawing plate? Here. So this whole information about the Mazda, entire thing, I supplied it here. So Mazda got added to the Tommy's car holder. Okay, let's do it for others. So Tommy's dot cars of 1, and I set this to Audi. I'm setting it to Audi. The Audi is gone to him. And then the other one that I have is, I'll set this to Stuart. So Stuart, okay, Stuart's dot cars, and this is so Audi was set, so Mazda and BMW, Audi was set to this one. I'll set this to BMW, right? 0. BMW goes to him. Make sense? I got every, 2 of those garages. I am separating out my whole stuff. Correct? Now, this is done, but the question is, how can I run it? I mean, there has to be a way. My plan is that when I say Stuart's garage, list me the cars you have, then it should tell me what cars it has, something like that. So which means that I need to create some kind of a property in Stuart, in the garage template. Look, right now in the garage template, I don't have any property. It's just the holders right now. But I should have some kind of a property within the garage, which can let me know that what kind of cars are already present in that respective garage, right? So the property that I'm going to create here is called public void print, or just say show cars, like that. Okay. As a part of this show cars, what can I do? This is a template again, guys. Understand this. As a part of this show cards method, it's a method, right? Like the way I created a method in car to print the info about the car. Similarly, for the show cars method or the property, I will have some kind of, I have to build some kind of a logic that will run through the cars array and then print out the information. So I can do like this. I can say if no, let's do something. Let's say I'll do a for loop. Okay, for loop for int I equals 0, I less than cars dot length. You have seen me doing this earlier with the string. Okay, but I can even create an object of cars, obviously, right? So cars dot length I plus plus. That's my simple loop to iterate over this holder. Okay, now if if car, that is the array car of index I, because I have to access each and every car, right, one by one. So I have to attach it with the square bracket and the I, so that I can access that index. So if this index is not equals to null, if it is not equals to null, then cars of I, this is, so cars of I is nothing but one car object, right? So in this car object, I can say dot print info. Do you see that? Print info, I can access this method called print info. Print info method is a part of cars template, right? I can access that over here because at the end of the day, I'm working with the car object. So this car of I, cars of I is nothing but a car object. So this car object dot print info will give me the option or the access to basically call this method over here. So you understand this now again. I have this BMW, right? This Mazda or this BMW, this Audi. Every one of these guys can actually also access Audi dot print car info, print info. I can access that. So basically, this holder that I was talking about, cars, this holder, right? This holder is actually holding a Mazda and an Audi. So this Mazda, if it's a car, then I can access the print info method. Simple. So if that's the case, then I want to print it. If it is not null, then I want to print it. Okay. And then I can actually do something saying that I want to basically print out something saying no cars to show. But how will I do it? No cars to show, meaning that there is no car inserted in this arrays, right? So 1 minute. So if okay, I can do this. So I can write another logic. If car of I no, that will not work. I want to basically make sure that there is no cars here. How can I do that? No cars here. So basically I have to scan through this entire thing and see if for all the elements it is null. Let's do one thing. Let's say else if it is a null, then let's okay, yeah, I can do this. I can use a counter int count count nulls like this, okay, and I'll make it as 0, and then I'll say if it is so I say if it is not null, then print it, but if it is null, then print, then simply increment this value, okay, then simply increment this value. So if there is no cards at all, then this will keep on getting added. If all the values of this array is null, then this will keep on getting added one by one. And then after the loop is over, I can just say if counts is equals to cars.length. That means there are three nulls, or 3 nulls for 3 cards, for the car length 3. Then I would like to print out this out. I will print out no cars to show. No cars to show. Like so. Okay. So let's do this now. I have added a controller. In the controller, you see, I added Thomas, Mazda, and Audi, and Stewart's, BMW. Good. Now I go ahead and I just call the method. What method? Tommy's dot show cards. Let's run this program, and also Stewart's dot show car. Obviously, it's a template, right? So obviously, both of these objects will get access to this method, correct? And now I go and run this. If I run this, just see what happens. Actually, you know what? I can do a little bit better. So what I'll do is show cars. In the show cars, I also want to print out my garage name and location. So sysout garage. What am I giving here in the controller? Okay, I already have the garage name. I mean, this thing is already there, right? So let's not do anything. Let's just say simply a hyphen in between and just say name plus location. Okay, plus location. So what will happen is when I will call this method, it will first print the name of the garage and the location, and then the show cars. Okay, let's go and run this. Look, Thomas Garage, City West, it has these 2 guys. Stewart's Garage, Sagard, it has this guys. Okay, let's remove the BMW from Stewart's and put it in Tommy's. Okay, can I do it? 2-minute job, 1-second job actually. So all I do is over here. Number 2, 012 equals to BMW, right? BMW. And then I don't do Okay, I also messed up something here. Hold on. 2 equals BMW. BMW. Okay. And then I don't want to do anything here. Okay. So Tommy, I'm asking Tommy to show the cars. I'm asking Stuart to show the cars, right? And if I do it, then I should get all the 3 cars in Tommy's and this one, no cars to show, right? This one, look. Tommy's garage printed everything for me. Stuart's garage, no cars to show. Are you getting it? Like, how did I create a use case? How did I convert a use case to an actual Java class and objects, and I created a story out of this program? Do you understand this? This is the building block of object-oriented programming. You have to understand this. There is no shortcuts. And this thing, what I showed it to you, you have probably understood that right now. But if you don't practice, if you don't create your own story, like you can create a story with like students, or I don't know, something like that, airport or something like that, I don't know, right? And if you don't create a hands-on, then that's it. You will not be able to understand this. Very simple. Afi, are you getting this point? Yes, no? Did you understand this logic, what I showed you?
I'm trying to, maybe when I go over the lectures again, I'll probably get a better understanding of it.
Can you tell me which part is confusing?
It's not really confusing. I just
But you're not
feel
getting that
that
confidence that you can write this.
I can, but maybe when I put your lectures side by side, I'll probably get it better.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. And side by side meaning you put it on the left hand side, right hand side, you code. Maybe the same program that I wrote, you code it. You code it and you see how the flow is happening, how the entire flow is happening. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. For example, you know what? Let me do this. Let me actually put some breakpoints. Line number 14 over here in garage. Let me put a breakpoint here, line number 11. And also, okay, in the variables, I cannot really put the breakpoints, but I can put the breakpoints within the methods, right? So let's try and run this in a debug mode, just for the sake of making it little. Why did that debug as? Okay. So then let's understand in the controller, I'm creating 3 different instances of cars. Car 1, car 2, car 3, a Mazda, Audi, and BMW. And then I'm setting the values to it, all these values to it, right? So once I'm done with that, let's run this again. Once I'm done with that, then it comes to the place where I am trying to say show cars. So who is showing cars? Like, who wants to show the car? Obviously, if you hover your mouse on the name, it's a Tommy's garage, right? So Tommy wants to show the car. Location is Sagard, right? If I print this, that gets printed. And then it goes through this if block. In the if block, it is checking the length of the car. The car is the array. The car is having all these 3 guys. Look, you see, the first one is this, second one is this one, and third one is this one, right? Now, if you click on the first index, look at this, I'm clicking on the first index, it shows what? This value. But if you expand it, it shows Mazda, engine, model, and seat. Do you see that? So you get all the information over here. This is the cars array. This is the cars array for Tommy's garage. Okay. This one is brand, engine, model, seats. Again, brand engine model seats for BMW, right? All three of them are attached to this array, cars array, which is for Tommy's instance. Good. Now, with that, I loop around. Okay. If it is not null, obviously it is not null. So it goes inside. So who is printing the car? Look, the cards of I. Who is cards of I? Let's watch it. So cards of I is nothing but the Mazda guy, right? Look, Mazda 2.2, Mazda 6.5. That's the cards of I. That means the 0th index. For the 0th index, let's print out the information. So basically you're saying Mazda instance, print out the information. So which is why it prints out the information. It takes you to the print out method, print info method, and then it prints out 1, 2, 3, 4. Look at the console. It printed all the information. Do you see? It's all logical. It's nothing coming out of like thin air. Kester, what do you think?
Yeah, it's okay. I understand it.
Steve, what about you?
Yes, I'm good.
Okay, good stuff. Perfect, perfect. So that's the first thing that you have to really understand with respect to classes and objects. So what is a class? What is a template? What are you creating out of it? You're creating the instances out of it. I mentioned it here, class car. What are different type of class members? Create an instance of the class car. You use the keyword called new keyword. How to access the variables with the dot operator. I showed you that. Okay. I showed you about this thing about the memory management. You don't really have to bother about memory management. It is all taken care internally by Java. Okay. But you have to understand that there are two different sections. One is stack memory and heap memory. In the stack memory, it basically stacks like which methods will be called after what. That is the stack memory. Okay. It basically, you look at the video that I have shared earlier, you will see what are the methods which was called after which method. That entire stack of execution is defined here. Okay. And these are the instances. Okay. And I have also spoken about the concept of garbage collector. So you can take a look at that also. It is very simple to understand. Nothing you have to do mostly. So that is where I finished this. Let's go to the class 5. And what do I have here? I have Java instance and scope. Okay, what is Selenium? This is okay. This is okay. This is okay. Understanding scope. What are methods? Okay, we'll talk about methods, all right? What is understanding scope? We'll talk about that. And then we'll go to Selenium if time permits, okay? I'll take 5 minutes break, guys. I'll come back and I'll talk about methods and I'll talk about scopes. And then we'll talk about probably Selenium today, okay? So give me 5 minutes. And then for next week, let me just check something out here. Okay. HTML layout. You know what, guys? I will not enable week number 3. I mean, I'm asking you whether you want me to do that or not, because I was thinking the next week, let us complete everything that we have in week number 2 completely. And then let me enable week number 3 for you, because otherwise I'm thinking that maybe it will be like spillover. I will spill over topic from one week to the other week. So I'm thinking that next week we'll cover the whole thing. In the meanwhile, I have a couple of more participants who joined, so they will have some time to go over these two things. Do you think that's a good plan, or do you think we should go to week number 3 otherwise? Ramon, what do you think? In week number 3, we are discussing about XPaths and a little bit of XPaths, but more on Java, like, if-else statements, constructors. This part is not easy part. Constructor, runtime polymorphism, it will take time, 100%. So
yeah, if it was for me, I would keep going. I would go to week 3, but let's see what other people say.
yeah. Guys, what do you think, rest of you?
Week 3 is fine for me. So week.
Okay.
How can I access the course? I can find it.
I'm sorry?
How can I see the course?
I can give you, after the class, you and Afi, I will talk to you and I'll show you everything there, okay?
Okay, thank you.
So, good. Bongi, what do you think? Do you want to go to week 3 or do you want to take a break in between?
I'm okay with anything. I can go to week 3, but
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Steve, are you good with that?
Sure, sounds good.
Okay, perfect. No problem at all. Let's go to week 3 then. No problem at all. So I'm going to then talk about the Selenium, and then I will finish the class, and then we will come back to week 3 next week. Okay, give me 5 minutes. I'll come back, and then we'll continue from here. Thank you.
Oh, sorry. So, Vic, were you saying that next week we just complete all of week 2 because we won't be able to finish it today? So instead of starting a new week, we just make sure that we finish everything that's in week 2.
That is correct. And I was thinking that, then week 3, I will start it from the following week, maybe something like that.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds fine.
Yeah. So we'll see. That's fine. No problem at all.
Okay.
So I'll just take a 5 minutes break and come back. Thank you. Okay. So then we are going to discuss about this part, right? What are methods and what are its usage? Okay. So you saw me creating a class car, and you saw me creating a method called as printinfo. Printinfo, I was calling it as a property. It is also a method. A method is what? Method is basically a group of statements that you do not want to write over and over again. For example, if I want to get the information printed out, I can just call this one line over here, which internally calls this 4 lines and prints the entire information about the car. So instead of calling 4 lines every time I want to get the information about the car, or every time I want to print the information about the car, I can call just one line. I can just write this one line to eventually call this 4 line that is inserted inside this method. This thing that you see here, this entire structure, is called a method. You see, public is a keyword to define access. We'll talk about this next week. Void is a return type for a method, whether this method is returning any information or not. Okay. A method can return any type of information. A method can return an integer, a string, like so, right? So I'm not returning any information. So I said void, and I say, do this. And then I give this bracket, I add this bracket, and I define a scope of this method. This is a method, okay? And then you just can write anything within this scope. This is the scope, right? Within the scope, you can write anything. And when you call the method, whatever you write within the scope will be executed. Okay. So there is a concept in Java, and we call this as dry, meaning do not repeat yourself. It's a very bad programming habit if you don't take care of this principle, dry principle. If you are seeing that a piece of code that you're writing will be reused, okay, or needs to be reused in future multiple times, then there is no point in writing that code like separately or out of a method. It's much better that you write that piece of code in a method and call that method whenever you have the need for it. Okay, so for example, you see that in this section in the controller, I was having a need for me to call show cards in two instances, two occasions, like Tommy's.showCards and Stewart's.showCard. I can call this method again, right? I can call this method again. And if I do it, it will again print out the information one more time for me. That is a method, okay? So the methods are formed in different ways. Like, actually, you know what? I'll get out of this car example and I'll go to the other package. 1 minute. So I'll just close everything and I'll open up from here. So new class, and let's say test methods. Okay. And then it's a main method over here. Okay. So main method is also a method. This main method is also a method. And if you have understood whatever I spoke last week about the main method, then you know that this main method is a place from where your program actually kicks off, right? Like, for example, in the controller, there is this is the main method from actually the programming, the execution started. You cannot run the car class individually. Like, you know, you cannot say right click on this and you cannot say run as Java application. That option is not even there. Okay. You cannot run a template on its own, never. Okay. You can only run a class which is having a main method, and that main method is a method which will let you run a program. You see, Java application, run as Java application. You can see that. Similarly, this main method, this test method class is having a main method from where I want to kick off my execution. Okay, so let me create a method over here saying public void add numbers. Okay, numbers. And then I can define two different numbers here. Int A equals 20. Int B equals 30. And sysout, you can say summation, and which is very simply A plus B. A plus B. Correct? Now, if I go ahead and call this method, every time I will always get the value as 50, because every time the initialization of A and B will happen, and then it will print out the 50. Okay, let's do it. So how can I call this method? I can call this method by creating an instance of this class. I can even say this, I can say test methods, like this class itself, right? Test methods method, or just a test equals to new test method. So I am, look at this, right? I am within this class and I'm creating an instance of the class. I can do that as well. Okay, and there is no problem in that. I can create an instance of the class within the class. as long as this line is within the main method. Okay, because main method is a placeholder from where the kickoff will happen. So when JVM will kick off main method, it will immediately create an instance of test methods, and then you can call test dot add numbers. Now I can go ahead and call this like 20 times, and always I'll get the same result, right? Run as Java application, and you will get every time I'll get the same information out. Correct? That's a method. Okay. Now this method is a stupid method. Why? Because it will always give you the result as 50. I don't want that. I want to improve my. I want to create a method in such a way that I can dynamically supply the value to it, so that I can print out the information, right? So I can write public void add numbers again, and then over here I can say int a comma int b. Now do you see this? So what's happening here is that I am parameterizing the method. So this is a simple method, and this is a parameterized method. Parameterized method, right? Okay, as a part of parameterization, I can then supply these two information into it, and then I can print out this value. Just copy this section here, paste it here, and then you just say test dot add numbers, and here I can pass on the value, say 30 and 90, and I run this and I get 120. See? So I parameterized it. I can create a method that is storing, that is, I mean, this method is accepting only two numbers, right? What if I want to create a method in such a way that it can accept n number of values and give me the summation of all the numbers? Can I do it? I can. I can create a parameter here called public void add numbers, and in this method I'm not going to use int a, int b, rather I'm going to use a special type of parameter, and that parameter is called as var args. So you say int dot 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 nums, like so, right? So this is a special parameter, and we call this parameter as a var args parameter, var args, or variable arguments parameter. Okay. And with this, what happens? With this, this thing is nothing but, it's basically an array. How do you call it? You call it like this. You call it like test dot add numbers, and you say 12, 34, 56, 78, 90, like so. You can keep on adding n number of parameters here as a part of the var args. And this is basically nothing but an array. At the end of the day, it becomes an array. And if it's an array, then let's loop around. So we'll write the program like this. We'll say int sum equals 0. I'm creating a variable which is having the value as 0. And then I'll loop around. I'll loop like this. Int I equals 0, I less than nums dot length. You have seen this syntax earlier, I plus plus, and then you go and keep on printing out. How can you print out? How can you add the values? It's very simple. You say sum equals to nums of I plus sum. Let me explain what did I do, and then finally I just go like so, and I'll just say it as sum. Let me first run this and show you the summation. Okay, and then we will discuss about this logic. So I go and I run this. And I get the value as 270. Look. So how exactly it happened? Let's do a debugging. Everything is debugging, right? Put a break on line number 27 and let's do a debugging on this. Good stuff. So I am here in line number 27. Okay. So if I hover my mouse on the nums parameter, you see, it is basically an array 12, 34, 56, 78, 90. All of them is here. Okay, good. So the for loop is starting. Okay, when the for loop starts, the value of sum is 0. Look, the value of sum is 0. And nums of I is what? What is nums of I? Nums of I is nothing but okay, I have to just go to the next line. Nums of I is 12. Look, nums of I means nums of I is 0. So nums of 0 is 12, the first element, right? The first element plus 0 is how much? 12. That value 12 is now set inside the sum variable. Good. So 12 is set inside the sum variable. Now let's loop around. Now nums of I is what? 34. And sum is 12. 34 plus 12 is how much? 46. We go run this. Sum is 46, right? This process will keep on iterating until we hit all the numbers in the array. And finally, the sum is 270. How cool is that? Right? So you saw me creating 3 different methods. You saw me creating 3 different methods to perform summation in different ways. Right? This is also called as, in Java, this is also called as overloading. I will talk about this in details, but this entire structure that you see here, meaning that the name of the method is same in all the cases, but the signature of the method is different. Like here, there is no value at all. Here, there are 2 parameters, okay, int a and int b. And here, there is a var arg, right? There is a var arg, right? So every time the name of the methods are same, but the parameters are different. When this kind of structure happens, we call this as overloading. I will talk about this more in details, don't worry. Loading, overloading. This is a concept in Java under object-oriented programming, and this is called overloading. So that is basically is method, and it basically makes your life way easier now, right? Any questions regarding methods? Yes, no? Any questions? Okay, good stuff. All right. So I think that is where I will end my class today. Selenium, let me start it from next week. I cannot cover Selenium in 20 minutes. The video is there for week number 2, where I have shown you how to add Selenium into the project. Basically, it is very simple. You can go to selenium.dev folder or application, selenium.dev, and from there you download this particular release, this particular jar file. I've shown you how to attach this jar file into your project. And if you look at that video for 10-15 minutes, you should be able to set up the Selenium and, write 1 line of code at least. So just watch it. And then next week when we come in, I will talk about the Selenium architecture, like what kind of Selenium architecture is it, like why it is like that and all that. And then I will start discussing about Selenium methods and other stuff. Okay. So that's it for today, guys. Other than Afi and Kester, I think rest of you guys can drop off if you don't have any questions. I will help them to set up the account and few other things. Okay. Any questions, guys, that I can answer?
Sorry, before the Selenium, are you gonna talk about like inheritance and interfaces and abstract classes?
Everything. I will send you the entire list. It's the training that I provide is a 4-month training. Just let me explain that to you in a minute.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So perfect. That's fine. Steve, any questions?
Yes, actually, Savik. Well, actually, you sort of answered. I had asked a question a few days ago about downloading Selenium in Slack, but anyway, so where you are on the page, excuse me.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little early here for me.
I understand.
6:42 a.m. here Eastern time.
I know.
But anyway, so I was wondering about which version of Selenium, which I see there. Click on the server grid, download there, the stable version. And then when we scroll down to the browser section, download the Chrome driver after doing so.
You don't need to do the Chrome driver.
Okay.
There's another way of doing this. It's something called as WebDriver Manager. And using WebDriver Manager, you can avoid downloading the Selenium, Chrome driver. Okay. This file I downloaded right now, you can attach this file, jar file, into your project, and you can start working with it.
Okay.
Okay. And for WebDriver Manager, it is also another jar file with which you don't have the dependency of updating the Chrome driver all the time. WebDriver Manager will automatically do it for you, and I'll show you next week how to set that up. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, that's pretty much about it.
And then one other quick thing, sort of going back to the loops.
Mm-hmm.
I know in one of our, I think it was in class 2, one of the assignments we had to discover that in order to answer, we had to use a nested loop.
Yeah.
So I think it was the arithmetic table.
Yeah.
I know we haven't talked about that yet. I guess we'll talk about nested loops at some point.
Yeah.
Basically, which is a loop within a loop.
That is correct. That is correct. So let me quickly show that to you if you have asked me. So let me show that to you. It's a loop within a loop, that is right. So for example, I'm creating a nested loop here. Nested loop here. So the idea is very simple. For one iteration of I, there will be 10 iteration of J, something like that. So for int I equals 0, I less than 10 or less than equals to 10, I plus plus. Actually, you know what? I'll start it with 1. I'll start it with 1. Okay. And let me write another loop inside the for loop, and it's called the nest. That's why it's named as nested loop. So int j equals 1 again. Or maybe, yeah, I think I can do that. And then I can say j less than equals to 10 again. And then I say j plus plus, right? So I created these 2 different loops, loop within a loop, right? So for one I, the j will iterate 10 times, something like that. So let's say this out. What is the i's value? So just say I, and I say I here. plus I here. Okay, that is going to print out the I's value. And then over here, it is going to print out J's value. So here, I will not say J print ln, I'll say print, and I will say J here. Actually, the best way to do it is print J. I can just say it as J. Okay, J. I'll not put anything here. Okay, and then I'll do another print just next to that. And here I'll just pass on J, and I will just add a space so that it looks good. Okay. I think it will look good. Let's see. So what will happen is for I iteration 1, I want to print J 10 times. That's the idea. So let's try to do that. And then in the next line, I'll do this out again. This is just for the formatting of the execution, nothing more than that. I will comment this lines and I will run this program, run as Java application. Yeah, the formatting was a little bit crappy, but I hope you get that. Yeah, no, it's fine. It's fine. Look, for I1, J got printed like 10 times. For I2, J got printed 10 times, like so, right? So this is basically called a nested loop. For each and every iteration of I, the inner loop will be iterating for how many ever times you have selected here, right? That's a nested loop. So I will release the solution of class number 2 as well. But then, you know, if you have specific questions, you can ask me, Steve.
So Fig,
Mm-hmm.
this Ahmed here.
Yeah.
Yeah. You talking about the downloading of Selenium. Are we going to do that next week, or we do it before next week?
No, you can do it even now. There is no problem in doing that now. I mean, if you watch my class 2 videos for the Selenium, I have shown you how to download the video, you know, jar file and how to work it out. Okay. In that video, I have not mentioned about WebDriver Manager. I have mentioned about Chrome driver, installing Chrome driver. And basically the idea is simple. The Chrome driver that you will install will be the Chrome driver that will match up to your own Chrome version in the system. If you have version 93, then you download the Chrome driver exe for 93. And that part is mentioned in the video completely. Kester, tell me.
Yeah, I'm wondering, are we going to use the POM XML rather than downloading the jar files instead?
Yes, Kester, it's a 4-month training. Everything that you talk about, or you can think of Selenium WebDriver, I teach that. Everything in terms of the test automation. So everything that you talk about, like Maven and Grid and Jenkins and Docker, everything is part of this program.
Okay.
So we will get there, but you understand, right? We have different people coming from different skill set, right? So it is starting from very basic to the advanced level. That is the reason why it is a 4-month training.
Okay.
Okay. I will answer all your questions after everybody is gone. Okay.
No problem.
Good. Okay, guys. Any other questions?
That's all.
Okay. Okay. Bongi, any questions? Ramon?
No questions.
Okay. Ramon?
Oh, no, I'm good.
Perfect. Okay. All right. So in that case, guys, if you don't have any questions, then other than Afi and Kester, everybody else can drop off. I'll see you guys next week. And then let me talk to this.
All right. Thanks, Tommy.
Thank you.
Okay,
Have a great
bye.
week
See you
ahead.
next week.
Thank you, guys. Bye-bye. Thank you.